Good morning, my dear viewers. Today is the 25th of March, and today my first video I will talk about a very important topic, extremely important. The one we spoke about in the previous episodes, and you will be overjoyed to hear that the decision in regards to these topics, the decision with the humanitarian help, delivery of the humanitarian aid on the territory of Ukraine that is no longer under the control of Kiev, as well as creation of the military-civilian administrations have been accepted. What can this give us and how will this look in the future? The way how I understand the situation and what I see that is already happening, taking as an example what happened on the south territories that have been freed in Herson and Zaporozhnya regions. Pay attention that literally yesterday information came that the budgetary individuals that have been freed from the Kiev regime have started to receive their monthly salary. Not because someone wants to buy someone off, but because people need to live. People are not at fault that they have ended up in the military conflict zone and they just require the help to live through these couple of months while the normal life can get back on track. And now I see it with the example of Herson and Zaporozhnya regions. This practice will be implemented further onto all the territories of the freed Ukraine. This means that people from the budgetary industry will continue to get their salary. Also, gradually, the what's so-called garrisons of the territorial defense, in reality just a bunch of slackers who naively consider themselves Ukrainian military force, will be cleared, so that later normal life can be established in the cities and towns. This is relevant firstly to the Chernihiv and Sumy regions, where this situation that I have shown in the material a couple of days ago have started to really get out of hand. As I understand, in the next couple of days, maybe a week or two, the situation in these areas will radically change. For example, a lot of people DM me from some of the Ukrainian towns in Chernihiv region. I will not be naming them, but they say that the Russian troops have followed the example of Energodar. They circled the town and demanded the local territorial defense to give up arms. Also divert your attention to how in the recent couple of days the strategy of Russian troops noticeably changed against the garrison of Chernihiv. The garrison has been taken into the brutal ring, and now they can no longer affect the daily life of the region. Basically, the spider gets isolated and his web is getting destroyed. This way the order will be brought not only to Chernihiv but also to Sumy. And people there will also very quickly understand that the Bandera regime will never be able to return to these regions. That is the most important and crucial point, because the people who did not accept the regime, they are just scared and they're just frightened. And they are forbidden to receive the humanitarian help, meaning that they are sending out videos from villages in Chernihiv regions where the Russians are giving out help, where they're refusing to accept this help. And for those who accept the help, the lists of these people are being published as if they are some kind of traitors. I want to remind those people who are doing this right now in Chernihiv and Sumy regions. In Herson and Zaporozhnya, same people as you have tried to start the same thing as you are doing now. And yes, at first people were scared to accept the help, but today no one is afraid anymore. And these so-called patriots, with not all over them, are testifying that they didn't know or that they didn't understand what they were doing is bad. I repeat myself, in Chernihiv and Sumy regions, the same thing is going to happen, and no one is going to pity anyone. In reality, the information that there is on each and every one of these agitators who lit themselves up as a Christmas tree on the night from 31st to 1st is more than enough. Please understand that in the 21st century there is no anonymity, and you understand that Google remembers everything, and not just Google. So I ask all people of Chernihiv and Sumy regions to first of all be reasonable, so that the civilian casualties of Ukraine is kept as little as possible. This is not your war. Right, this question has been covered. Now on to the next question that I often receive from people who had already left Ukraine and currently live in Russia. They ask me, what should we do? How can we help these military-civilian administrations? Here I want to reference Oleg Tsarev, ex-deputy of the Ukrainian parliament, the last one that I personally consider legitimate. In the current situation, these kinds of structures appear as a copy of the structures used by the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. Any volunteers who were a Ukrainian citizen or anybody else can go to the recruitment office of their current living address, and according to the information provided by Oleg Tsarev, all the instructions of what to do next has already been taken care of. I'll sum it up. Basically, from yesterday, the war in Ukraine has moved to a whole new stage of quality. Now it's a full-fledged fight for Ukraine, for the minds of her civilians, and so that never again on this territory there would be a regime that teaches their people not to love their country but to hate others. Also on this territory there shouldn't be the regime that uses terrorist methods, and I want to divert your attention to the horrific incident that happened yesterday to the mayor of Kupiansk, who spoke about how Ukrainian special forces has arrested arrested his daughter, who remained on the Ukrainian occupied territory. She is now being threatened with execution because of her father's political choice. I want to once again speak to the sponsors of the Kiev regime, those who continue to send weapons and political help. Do you support these methods of fighting too? Then how are you different from any other terrorist group? Because if anything happens to this girl, then you will be held responsible for it, along with those who help the regime that uses these kinds of methods of fighting. Also, using this opportunity, I want to address the international human rights organizations. Get through to your leaders and sort everything out with your people, who in their hatred have overstepped the humane beliefs. This is all that I had to say in today's episode. Next episode will be devoted to the military actions.